Good afternoon, everyone. It's James Carpenter with Country Living. Today, the title of the video is 2020 to 2025. What the heck is going on? Well, let's talk about what the heck is going on. Now, usually I do a lot of research, but I haven't researched this. I'm using this is my perspective of what happened within the last 5 years. And it started in 2020, and I think it started with lumber, to be honest with you. Lumber started going up and up and up, and that went on for quite some time. And then before you knew it, other stuff started going up. So and I'm not talking inflation up, I'm talking jacked up. There was a lot going on during that period. There was the strikes at the dock, and they weren't unloading stuff, which created shortages, which created more reasons to jack the price on everything. Well, as everybody knows, once the price goes up, it doesn't come back down, it stays up. So I personally believe that it started with lumber, and then other people sort of started catching on, if you know what I mean. Oh, hey, we can jack our prices. And then it kind of went rapid, and everybody jumped their prices. Let me give you some examples. Let's say 2019. You could go to Rural King and buy a 5-foot pull-behind tiller for your tractor for $1,400. Go price one today. I believe it's closer to about $2,400. So that's just one example, but the tractors, everything went up. So are we being taken advantage of, or is all these companies just greedy and they seize the opportunity to jack the prices? And then on top of the prices of everything going up, we still had 4 years of massive inflation. So the whole thing, I believe, revolves around greed. Inflation, that's just something that takes place all the time. We'd like to see it low numbers like 1% and 2%, not 7%. I think that I don't know if I believe it. The goal of all this, and let's talk about houses first. Okay, everybody here knows that over a short period of time, houses doubled, if not tripled in price. Okay, so what's that do? Well, one, the tax people love it, because your $100,000 home is now valued at $300,000, which means we can increase the amount that you pay on property tax. So I don't know if that was a factor, but that is a factor. It's a fact, actually. I just think that we're getting a shaft put to us, and basically what it's doing now, for years, I can remember, 30, 40 years ago, people was talking about they're trying to get rid of the middle class. That was what people were talking about back then. And what better way than to get rid of the middle class than jack the price of everything and make owning a home untouchable pretty much, unless you want to buy, a mobile home or something like that, and you're still going to pay a lot more than what that mobile home is worth. Everything is jacked. So the middle class at this point in time, 2025, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty well washed up. And you know, another thing you can look at is the amount of homelessness in this country. How many people can't afford $1,500 a month for an apartment? How many people can't make their car payment? How many people's lost their house because they couldn't keep up with it? And now some of those people, unfortunately, wound up as homeless people. And I personally believe that problem is a lot bigger than we're told. You know, you can see a little bit here and there on your own, but if you look at it over the whole country, it's an epidemic, to say the least. So the money that our government spends, let's just use Ukraine for an example. How many millions, if not trillions of dollars are we pumping into that country for the war? Okay, how many of these homeless people could you build some cheap housing or Section 8 housing or whatever and get the poor people off the street? That's just not good, you know. And at least from there they could possibly work their way back into employment and get back on their feet. But I don't think that they purposely want to be homeless. That's a pretty tough life. And actually the homeless people that are on the streets are probably the lowest, but there's a lot of homeless people living out of their cars. You know, they're parking somewhere and they're sleeping in their cars and just basically living out of their cars. And that's fine until the car breaks down and they can't afford to fix it. Then what? Then they're absolutely out there on the street. So, speaking of the streets, I don't know if you're following this, but I watched Trump last night for, oh gosh, probably pushing 2 hours. And he was talking about what's going on in D.C., the Capitol. He's bringing the Army in there. He's federalized the police, which means he's in charge of the police. And if you go back and watch that footage, he said something that I'm going to say it's pretty cool, but that's just the way I roll. Some people would think it's inhumane or cruel. But those same people that I'm talking about there are probably, they're lost, is the best way I can describe it. I won't get into any details or run them in the ground. But what he's going to do is he federalized the police. He's got the Army coming in there. I don't know if a lot of you know it, but it's not even safe to walk the streets. There's so much crime. The monuments and all of our precious stuff has been graffitied to death. And what he's going to do is go in there, he's going to clean all that up. And the homeless people, they're all going to be rounded up. I don't know for sure what he's going to do with those, but they have to be relocated. They either probably chased them off and they went somewhere else, or the humane thing to do would be to, give them some kind of housing. I don't mean go out and build a bunch of apartments, but even large tents would be better than sleeping outside. So we'll see how that goes, but he's cleaning up the homeless. They're going to repave the streets. They're just going to make our capital clean, neat, safe, and orderly. So the one thing that he said, I got to get back to that, was he thought it was pretty bad that you know, when they have these protests, for example, and the police are all lined up there with their little shields and all that, the number of people in the crowd that would literally just spit in the police officer's face. Trump says, we'll have no more of that. If they spit in your face, club them down. And it kind of reminds me of the 60s when I was a kid watching TV or a young adult. The protesters, it was not uncommon to see them getting beat up with sticks. Okay, now you're going to say, oh, that's inhumane. You can't hit people. You can't do that. Well, those same people could turn around and take your life. So are they really people, or are they some kind of animal? I really don't know. But the police need to have that kind of power. You know, they took everything away from the police. They ain't allowed to do nothing. They got to wear cameras. They got to film everything. If we go back to the old days, and I'm talking the 50s and 60s, you respected the police. And if you got out there and you did some of that nonsense, yeah, you could get beat up with a club. Do I think that's right? Well, here's the consequences if you don't do that. Then they get the mindset that they can get away with it. And then they do even more and more and more. And that's been going on in the country for quite some time now. And I talked about it, I think, in one of my other videos. It's time to take the country back. There's still some real Americans that know what it's like to be an American and to live in this country. And if you live in this country and you're not out there doing all that nonsense, then everything's just fine. But the minute someone puts themselves in a position where they want to spit on a law officer, by all means, take care of business. And another thing we got to do, I hate to say it, but we need more penitentiaries. We need to take these violent criminals off the street and put them behind bars and keep them in there. And it would make our whole country a lot safer. And it would clean up a lot of the mess. So I don't know if that's what you wanted to hear from me today, but that's the way I think and that's the way I roll. I want to thank you for watching my videos, and you have a great evening.